Today is Tuesday, December 6th, 2016, and I'm here with Chris Schmidt in her home that's all decorated for Christmas to interview Chris about her faith. And I have known Chris as long as I have known of Emanuel. Chris, much more time at Emanuel than me. Chris, you were actually born into the church.
Almost.
Almost.
I was 15 months old when my mom, dad moved into Modesto.
Oh.
So that's when I started.
So your entire memory, at least.
My entire memory, yes.
Did you attend a different church prior to that?
No.
Okay, so
when they moved to Modesto, we went to Emanuel Lutheran.
And your mom and your parents, but your mom is what I remember as very faithful to the church.
Mm-hmm.
So she must have been raised in the church.
She was raised Baptist.
Really?
And my dad was raised Lutheran.
So, Chris, tell me about Emanuel.
So when I was a kid, lots of people in our Sunday school classes. We had Sunday school. I remember offering for the little kids was a big deal. And then we would sing songs and then go off to our classrooms. And went all the way through grade school, high school, youth group. But I didn't learn, it didn't affect me being a church member until I went to YMCA Camp Jack Hazard. That's what changed me into being a Christian. That's what made me realize who God was. I was just raised in the church. It was just all normal to me. But when I got to camp at 12 years old, they had this program called the RAG program. And you wore a rag around your neck, different colors, and it was just a reminder of a challenge you had accepted. So the first challenge, I wrote these down so I wouldn't forget, was dedication to God, country, and self. So that was a challenge for me each day that I wasn't at camp. And the next year was a Christian way of life was my challenge. And just those simple words, and we had a ceremony and got this rag tied around our neck, it meant a lot. How was I going to fulfill this challenge at age 13 to be Christian-like? And at age 14, it was Christian service was the challenge. At age 15, it was understanding and concern for others. And I think that's what started me always wanting to help other people. I was trying to fulfill this challenge. When I was 17, it was sacrifice of time, talent, and personal will. And every time we have a stewardship thing, it talks about time, talents. And I just think back to this challenge. When I was 18, the challenge was high and noble living. And then when I was 23, it was a dedication of my life of working with youth in a Christian way.
It's amazing you remember those things so clearly. I mean, I know you wrote them down, but you had to obviously remember them.
I wrote them down Sunday at church.
Yeah, because of memory.
That was an important part of my life whenever I did something to go back to one of those challenges. That was the most important thing.
Now, you're an outdoor person.
Yeah.
And Camp Jack Hazard is a beautiful high Sierra place. Is that what made those stick so much? Just everything coming together at that time? Is that why that crystallized?
It could have been the atmosphere of all the girls doing this together. We all accepted different challenges or the same challenge for the same age group each year. And we would talk one-on-one and, well, what does this mean to you? And how did you do it last year? And how did you fulfill your challenge? And it was just the way of life up there for 10 days each summer. That's all it was. But I brought that home with me. I brought that challenge home with me in my head, not my mom's, not my parents. Stan knew about it, my older brother. But it was me. It was my thing.
You, so that has been an active part of your life from a young age. I know you as becoming very active at Emanuel, serving on council, doing all kinds of things. Now you're involved in other volunteer things at the church. But I remember that, or maybe I took note of it, especially after your mom had passed.
That's because I moved back into town. Before that, I was out of town. So when I was out of town, going backwards, I don't know, forwards. Manteca, in the 80s, I did the youth group at United Lutheran. Moved, went to another church in Scotts Valley, Santa Cruz area, and I did Sunday school, and we met in a movie theater, and not Barbara, before her.
Not Barbara Kane?
No, white-haired, short woman.
Bonnie?
Pastor
No.
Bonnie was in charge of that congregation, and ended up in Hayward and worked at Holy Redeemer as a volunteer, working in the office and doing yard work. And then coming back to Emanuel and getting involved with Emanuel.
So most of your church involvement has been with Lutheran churches, but not all. Is that correct?
Right.
What makes Lutheran unique? Part of my reason for asking is this is, of course, the 500th anniversary of the Reformation. What is it about Lutheranism that's special to you, or what is it that keeps you Lutheran?
Garrison Keillor.
Oh.
No,
That's
it's my grandmother was Lutheran. My dad was Lutheran. I was raised Lutheran. And so it became part of who I am. My mom was raised Baptist. Her mother was raised Baptist. Her father was raised Seventh-day Adventist. And his father, I don't think, went to church at all. Mm-hmm. So on one side of the family it's a mixture, on the other side it was all Lutheran. And I just, being raised in the church, the friends of the church, at Emanuel I used to do Sunday school, I used to do communion training, and I was involved with the youth group as a youth. And when I was away, and my partner Jean and I, we both talked about when we move to Modesto, I would become part of the Lutheran church family. And she would be Catholic. She knew she was going to continue with her religion, Catholic, and I would be Lutheran. And part of the time that I lived in Hayward, I went to the Catholic church, but it was attendance only. It was no involvement in anything else. So, but the Lutheran is where I've been involved, part of my life.
Chris, we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to ask you about what your best memories are of Emanuel.
Playing volleyball in the social hall and not destroying any of those hanging lights.
With the youth group, I
With
take
the
it.
youth group. Going on snow camping retreats, Thanksgiving, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, at one of the members' cabins in Long Barn. Before the new church was built, climbing around and playing in the building constructions on Sundays between Sunday school and church.
That dates you a bit, saying before the new sanctuary, the current sanctuary.
Before the current sanctuary.
In that time, Chris, and I'll sneak in one more question here. In that time, society has changed a lot.
Yes.
And the church has changed a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, you hesitated with that, and I think that's appropriate to hesitate with that because maybe church hasn't changed as much. Where do you see the church going with all of the changes and the challenges that it faces connected with it?
I think it's going to die out unless something happens with a pastor and congregation members that can bring in more people to be part of our family. And if there's no active recruitment of new members, it'll just die out.
At the risk of being a leading question, I'm going to ask you, do you mean die out or do you mean change significantly?
Fear of dying out, fear of closing the doors and locking up the building.
Is that true of churches in general? Will people's faith die? Or is it a matter of it just changing shape so much?
Maybe if you change shape, it'll still be there. And if you don't change shape, then I think a lot of churches will close up.
So we have to be flexible with the
Yeah.
times.
A lot of the youth groups, I've talked with friends, they asked about Emanuel if we had a youth group for their child to go to. And there aren't too many. And she says, well, there's only 3 or 4 at our church. Another friend said there's only 2 at their church. So there's no youth to have a youth group in these different denominations. But some churches, the big box churches that have lots of people, it's working for them. And the Catholics, I don't know why, it's working for them. I mean, their Sunday school's 1,000 people.
Well, if flexibility is what it takes, you're the right person.
Okay.
Because you have been flexible and you have been so faithful to the church over the years. So thank you. Thank you for all of your work and your involvement, and thank you for agreeing to be interviewed. I really appreciate it. Your thoughts are very helpful to me and to others.
Okay, you're welcome. Good time.